Want to film a floss tube? You want to film a floss tube and see all our friends? You want to see all of our friends on Flosstube? Here we go.
Greetings, friends, and welcome to Live from the She Shack with Donna and Katie. Today, October 6th, we're coming to you from Pierre, South Dakota, located on the beautiful Missouri River. And if you look right behind me through the windows, you can see the Missouri River and the Fromboy Island that sits behind it. So it's been a while since I've been on, and today I thought I would catch you up on what I've been up to. I have quite a few finishes to show you. I entered some projects in the state fair, and I'll show you those results. And then a couple of whips that I'm working on and things that I'm going to work on in the future. Plus some finishes from in the past that I thought would be fun to share with you, and just some other things. And we'll end as usual with a botanical moment. So Katie and I are going to hang out and talk, and she may sit right here with us, or she might go over to her scratchy box. We had a little episode with her paw, if you can see her paw there. She's got a autoimmune disease that we're doctoring right now, so she's been a good girl through taking all the medications, and so hopefully she'll hang with us. Okay, I don't even know where to begin. It's been a long time. How about we start with my state fair results? So my sister talked me into entering some cross stitch into the South Dakota State Fair. I'd never done this before, and mostly because I'm terrified of people not thinking that my work looks good. So I don't like to be judged like everybody, but my sister said let's bring some attention to cross stitching. So I entered into 3 categories. I got 3 ribbons. So I'll start with, I entered into a Christmas ornament category, and that was the Christmas ornament could be anything. So what I did was I made, and I got a blue ribbon on this, so I took first prize in this. So what I did was I made strawberries from Plum Street samplers, some patterns, just random patterns, and then I put the name of a hymn on the top. This one is Joy to the World. This swan is from In Friendship. This next one is White Christmas, and what I did for the caps is I just took a piece of wool that my sister had bought at a secondhand store, was in a suit or a jacket, and I just made the tops for them, and then I just took some alcohol ink and made the jingle bells look a little bit aged, and then I just took a piece of twine for the hanger. So this one is from Rack Stack, all Plum Street designs. This one, it says Silver Bells on it. He's really cute. I really like him. I believe he's from Mary 2, and he's just a Christmas tree ornament, but he is absolutely adorable. And then the last one is this one, 'Twas the Night, and this one came from 1,000 Hills, and the first Noel. Sorry, I can't read without my bifocals. So I thought these sheep were absolutely adorable, 1,000 Hills. So those were the 4. You had to have 4 to 6 ornaments, and again I entered these in, and I took first place, which I was really excited about that. And ironically, my sister also entered this category, and she took second place. And what she made was these cute little wool stocking Christmas ornaments. Again, she goes to secondhand stores and gets old jackets and then washes them and makes her own, I think it's called felted wool. Sorry if I get that wrong. Anyway, she made these little cute Christmas stockings. You can put things inside of them, and she just did a blanket stitch around all of them. And I thought they turned out really, really adorable. And she entered 6 pieces, all plaids, and she took second place. So I thought that was pretty neat that she got second place for her ornament, and I got first place. So then there was a next category, was called a large frame piece that was over 8 by 8 inches. And I really debated on this one. I knew it was going to be a Kathy Barrick. There's no surprise there. And this is actually back in when she was the owner of Carriage House Samplings. This one is Sarah Spur. And this one, so I did this one on silk with the silks, and I believe that this is Milk Chocolate by Hand Dyed by Stephanie, this fabric. And I took 3rd place in this category. Now, as we get into my floss tube, I'll talk a little bit about what I'm going to do next year to try to win 1st place. So I do have, I did see a photo. I was not able to go to the state fair myself. So I did see a photo of the person that won, and I believe it was probably a Haid. It was called Fire and Ice. It was a profile of a horse. His face was looking this way, his mane was coming back this way. And the front half of the horse was blue tones, so cool colors, and then the back was all red and his mane was red, and obviously warm colors. And it was absolutely beautiful. I did not get to see what got 2nd place, but so my sister and I have already started to strategize of what we're going to do next year, and I will show you and share with you my ideas, what I'm going to do. I think this piece is absolutely beautiful. I think after looking at the one that won, I didn't have enough bling. So I'm going to bling it up. I'll give you a close-up of it. This one, I love this pattern. This is Sarah Spur again. I absolutely love her. I was so excited to get her finished, and I love the frame. I love everything about this piece. I think she's absolutely gorgeous. So there is Sarah Spur. Again, and this was the over 8.5 by 8, over 8 by 8 inches framed. So the next category was under 8 by 8 inches framed. And this one, I have recently, May, become a member of Teresa Kogut's Patreon. And if you're not a member, you need to join. I'm on the top level, the tier 4. And every month we get 3 patterns. I believe this was the exclusive for the tier 4 Patreons. And I think, I can't remember the name of it, I think it's called Merry Christmas, but he is absolutely adorable. And I was very excited because I took 1st prize on this piece. I was really excited. I love Teresa's designs. Get that on my face. I love Teresa's designs. I really, she is fast becoming my favorite designer. And you all know I'm a huge Kathy Barrick fan. Well, I'm a huge Teresa Kogut fan. I cannot say enough about just look at the colors on this. These are all DMC threads. Isn't that just beautiful? So once I did this, because I had to make a decision. It's really difficult. And I'll ask you to comment or put a note in the comments below if you know of a great piece that is under 6 by 6 finished, because I'm looking for something to enter in the state fair in this category again, and it was really, really hard to find something to get the frame that small. This frame is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, so I can't go much bigger than that. But I'm really looking around. I really want to do a Carriage House Kathy Barrick design, and I may explore that option, or I might do another Teresa Kogut, because oh my gosh, isn't that just adorable? Oh, he's so cute. So this was the level 4 Patreons. Level 2, and I might get this wrong, so if you were tier 2 and 3, this was one of the 2 patterns you got. And I just finished him, and oh my gosh, again, isn't he absolutely adorable? I love, that yellow is 680. I had not really stitched a lot with 680 before, but it is just such a great, unique, mustardy color, and it looks, and Santa is just fabulous. And I can't remember the name of, I have to look it up. I can't remember the name of him. I think he's called Jolly Old Elf. And all of these are done on 40 count Autumn Fields by Silk Weaver. And then the one that every Patreon received, and this one, I can't remember the name of him, I'm sorry. it's just, the green again is just, I can't tell you the DMC color on this one, but he is so fabulous. Now, I did have a challenge on this one, and I have another piece that I'm going to show you that I finished that's got 310 as the border. It's really hard to find a black that you can make work with that. So this is what I came up with. My sister helped me find this. So it's got a little almost rusty look in there, but it works perfect with this yellow color. So these 3 patterns were the July Patreon for Teresa Kogut, and I couldn't recommend it more. I love it. I love being a whimsy. So that is a set of 3. See if I can hold them all up at the same time. All done on 40 count Autumn Fields by Silkweaver. Just love them. So that is one of the big projects I've been working on. Another finish that I had is from the Primitive Hair. This is Red Riding Hood, and I really like the way she turned out. I did change the red and actually the color of her skirt also. I was in the Color in Cotton Thread of the Month club for a while, and I wanted to use some of those colors. I can't tell you what colors those are, but they are Color in Cotton. I really like the linear look of the skirt. And then so I added the little tie right here. So I added this little tie. I just thought that she needed, even though she's looking over her shoulder, I thought that she needed to have a little bow and a little tie for her cape. So again, this is Red Riding Hood by the Primitive Hair. She's got more, I think she's got a Cinderella. I think she's got a Cinderella and maybe a couple more that are fairy tales. And I would like to do a couple more. I like her as a designer a lot also. So that's another finish I had. This next one is something that I had finished a long time ago, but I just couldn't find the right frame. Is this the ideal frame? Probably not, but it was very difficult for me to find a frame for this. I think that this one works okay, and this is an out of print Mirabilia, actually Nora Corbett. This is called Tiger Lily, and it was really hard to find a frame. She's on white, and then all the colors of her, I love her. Isn't she beautiful? So this is Tiger Lily by Nora Corbett, and I've talked about her before, I've showed her before, but there was a group on Facebook probably about 7 years ago, and the administrators, I won't say her name, but what she did was you put your name on the list, and then she and 2 other people shared their patterns, and as you got the pattern, there was a copy already in there, and then you just made a copy of the copy, so not to unfold and fold the pattern. And then everybody that had that pattern signed the inside of the folder that the pattern goes in. And so mine came from someone from Ireland. And I just thought that was really, really cool. And it was just amazing that someone put that trust in me that I would take care of that pattern and take it back. So thank you. If you watch my channel, I would have never been able to stitch her if you would have not loaned that pattern to me. So this is Tiger Lily by Nora Corbett. Now I do have 2 more finishes. This is my other, I was on a Teresa Kogut roll, still am. So this was a pattern, I can't say the name of it right now. I think this was one of her Patreons from maybe last year, but so this is done on 36 count Alien from the Moon by XG Designs, using the colors that Teresa called for. I really like this fabric. I actually am very excited because I just contacted XG Designs Jukas, and she takes custom orders, and I like this fabric so much and I couldn't find it anywhere, so she special dyed a yard for me, and it just cleared US Customs yesterday. So my next floss tube I'll show you, but it's really got some really fun colors in here, and I thought it just worked really well with this witch. So usually I frame things, but this time I am going to add her to this box, and this box only has its first coat of paint on it. And obviously she's not straight yet, but it's just going to go on this little box. It's going to go on the top of that, but I'm going to paint around it. I'm going to use these same colors that are in the design, and I'm going to paint around the box all the way around it, and probably put circles all over it and decorate it up. And the next time I will show you what that looks like also. So before I go into haul, I'm just going to do a few miscellaneous things. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Stitching Ray, Heidi. If you have not checked out her floss tube, go check it out, and I will link her channel down below. This summer I was watching Flosstube, and I came across her channel, and every pattern she showed I think I have, and I was stitching, and it soon became very apparent to me that I'd found another person out there that shares 75% of my taste. Love her channel. She's great. You need to check her out. Stitching Ray, and I'll link it down below, but she had a lot of great projects, and I wanted to make sure to give her a shout out because I'm going to kind of visit about her again in just a second. So the other thing I wanted to share is, so we used to go on a trip every spring and every fall, my stitching group, my friend Jean and myself and two of her sister-in-laws, and just because we call our trips going to Valhalla, and Valhalla is basically heaven on earth. So we, on Friday, myself and Jean's two sister-in-laws and my sister and another friend are going out to the Black Hills of South Dakota to have our Valhalla weekend. And we used to do this, I think Jean and I stitched together every day, or not every day, I'm sorry. Jean and I stitched together a lot, probably monthly, for almost 28 years we stitched together. And then Jackie and Deanne, her two sister-in-laws, Deanne stitched with us almost from the beginning, and then Jackie moved here and she became part of our group. So I'm going to say we've probably been stitching together for a good 15 years. All four of us were. My sister moved back about 7 years ago, and so she and Holly joined the group probably about 5 years ago. And then we were 6. So this will be our first time that we're going away. But I wanted to show you one of the fun things that we used to do when we would get together is we would make a book of our stitching trips. And we would take pictures of the four of us and do silly things. And one year, and I think this was Jackie's recommendation, she said, why don't we take an old-time photo? So we went into Deadwood, South Dakota, and we got this old-time photo taken, and I still love it every time I see it. It was Jean's suggestion that we have the glasses because she said none of us can see to stitch without our cheaters. So here is the original Stitch and Bitch group. I think you can recognize me, and Jean is beside me, and then below her is Jackie, and then beside me is Deanne. And we took actual stitching projects that we were working on. I should have brought the one I was working on. It's Believe by Stony Creek. It's a snowman. But here is our stitching group. So if you go away as a group, I recommend you do something fun like this. This hangs in my house, and I think of our trips and Jean whenever I look at this. So absolutely love it. So just something fun to do on a girls' trip. So I did get some haul. I got 2 different things. So when I was in the Amana retreat in May, a couple of the ladies and I were talking about sulky threads. And I said I'd been contemplating getting the whole kit, and they said they both had it, and they recommended that I did that. So I did do that. And hold on. So these are sulky threads. I think that most people know what they are, but what they are is equivalent to 2 strands of DMC. And there's 2 different kits. This is the first, and I think these were the original 80 colors. And so it comes with solid colors, and then there are also some variegated colors over here. And then as their line expanded to 160 colors, this was the second set. Again, these are the variegated threads over here. So and it comes in this beautiful handy case. It's easy to open. If you've never worked with sulky threads, I'll show you a project that I'm working with sulky threads, but it comes in a case like this. And what's nice is they are attached with a little prong, but you can remove the spool. So that's what it looks like. I don't know if you can see that very well. Probably not. It's just equivalent to 2 strands of DMC, which makes it really nice. Now, I probably, like everybody, started starting on Ada, then I went to 28 count and then 32 count. And I remember taking that leap to 32 count and thinking, wow, this is so hard. This is so tiny. How am I going to see this? And then I went to 36 and 40, and now 40 count is by far my favorite. I really like to work on 40 count. But I'm also a huge Mirabilia fan, and I have a lot of Miras, and I have a lot of other patterns that have beads on them. And when you put beads on, you need to stay with the called for fabric, so you need to use a 32 count. So I have a lot of Miras kitted up, some I don't, and then I've got a lot of just Nora Corbetts also. So I am going to start with a pattern Poison Ivy. I think it's in my bag. I'll show it to you. I had just a small start on it, but I've converted it already, and I think there's only 2 or 3 threads, and it's the greens on her that doesn't have a DMC equivalent. So I'm just going to pick 3 greens that are not the called for and just make that transition, and then try to stitch your own sulkies. Now, if you have stitched in sulkies and you've done a conversion, but there's still something that you need to use a DMC on, I'd love to know your advice. I don't know if you're going to be able to tell that one's 2 strands and one's 1 strand. Sorry, there's a tree right out in front of me, and a squirrel just jumped right there in front of me. So squirrel. So I don't know if it's what it's going to look like with 2 strands and 1 strand. So if anybody's done that, I'd love to kind of get your take on what it is. So I just got those. I'm really looking forward to using them. I really like working with sulky thread. It's a nice thread to work with. Sorry for the noise. So back in, I don't know, May or June, it was a really long summer. I didn't mean to be there so much time between filming a floss tube, but the summer was really busy. Work was busy. I had a wedding I went to a wedding in Colorado, our family's best friends, and helped get ready for the wedding. So they live up in the mountains, and it was absolutely beautiful. But I mowed a lot, we figured about 10 miles, and I used a push mower. So I did get my workout, and it was absolutely beautiful. But I did that, and then work got really busy, and my sister had a health issue. I just had my big convention. Once a year I do a convention, and I know I don't really talk about my personal life, but I run a nonprofit association. It's called the South Dakota Petroleum and Propane Marketers Association, and I represent gas station owners, convenience store owners, petroleum and propane wholesalers, and bulk trucks. So if you get home heating fuel, or you're a farmer and you get ag gas, the likelihood that a petroleum marketer, if they deliver in South Dakota, those are the kind of people I represent. So I do a convention once a year. We get exhibitors together. We do seminars. We do a lot of fun events together. And we have a big keynote at the end, and I'm the only employee, so I do everything myself. Well, my convention was September 13th and 14th, and there's always a lot of busy work to get ready for it, and it's always a lot of last-minute stuff. So I always go out on Sunday night, and then Monday's kind of preparing. I have a board of directors meeting. Well, I started not feeling good at my board meeting, and some of the guys were saying, well, you're just really stressed out. It's just been very stressful this summer. And I was like, no, I really don't think that's what it is. And at the same time, I have allergies in the fall, and there was a lot of fires from Montana, so the smoke was thick. I mean, you could smell it in the air. So I thought, maybe I'm just having an allergic reaction. I had a runny nose, I was coughing. Well, then the body aches hit me, and then I knew that it was none of those, that it was probably COVID. So my entire convention I had COVID. And so I did the best I could to get everything done. Everything got taken care of. I was present as much as possible, and then I took a test on Wednesday and I was positive. Now, I've not had COVID before. It's horrible. Yeah, it was horrible. The body aches were horrible. But, so it's just been a really, really busy summer. So to go back to where I was at before, I did make a few purchases, and I really, really like this Scarlet Letter, and I have one project started. It's called a 1640 motif sampler. But this summer I was looking through, just perusing, like I do with Carriage House and Kathy Barrick and Teresa Kogut and Plum Street and all the great Kitten Stitcher. I can get lost for hours on her site. Oh, she's got some beautiful, beautiful new samplers. Oh. Anyway, I was looking around and I came across the Scarlet Letter. Well, there had been a couple things that I had seen that I really wanted to get. So I grabbed 4 new charts. And I know everybody, a lot of people are working on something, I think it's got a badger in it. I know Quirks and Stitches, Jen Lee completed it, and it's slipping my mind. I'll put it across the bottom. But I found a couple that were very similar that I really liked. This one's called A Parrot, a Leopard, a Lion. Did I get that up there okay? And I really like the color palette in this. And I think I'll probably do them in silks. But this is a pretty big sampler. Did not bring my bifocals out, so I can't read that. But it's going to be pretty sizable. Anyway, I really like that one, so I picked that one up. And then I picked up, ironically, a camel and lion. So I didn't realize until they were delivered that they both had a lion on them, but love this one too. Again, I can't, oh, my glasses, so I can't read how big that is. But I really like the flowers. I love the big flowers. I really like this kind of a sampler. I just think it's really fun. There's a couple more on their website that I'm going to have also. But these are the first 5 I started with. So then I was just searching through, and I saw this one. It's called Bird in Bow, a miniature American sampler. And if you are a Kathy Barrick fan, Carriage House sampling, you would probably be saying to yourself, wow, that looks really familiar. Why have I seen something like that before? It's because it is so similar to Kathy Barrick's A Multiplying Bird. So I did a little bit of research, and this was a kind of a popular motif. I believe that this one, the Scarlet Letter had reproduced this one, and then Kathy Barrick had done a similar one. And so, of course, I had to get it, and I'm going to have to stitch both of them and put them side by side, but is that cool or what? So love that. So I had already had the Kathy Barrick. This one was how it really started. I actually contemplated making this one for my large South Dakota State Fair entry this coming year, or 2023. So as I was looking through, I came across this, Hannah Carter. And if you watched my channel, you would know exactly what I'm about to show you, because this is the same basic design as Garden Glade by Kathy Barrick. I mean, it's got the horse over here, it's got the lady in red, it's got the funky trees, it's got a dog, it's got the flowers. I think there's just a couple extra animals here. And then this right here, the fisherman. So on the horse. So I did a little research. This one, Kathy Barrick's Garden Glade, has a horse on it also, but no rider. And I almost entered this one instead of Sarah Spur. I love her. Stitching Ray just showed this pattern and gave me a shout out, and thank you for that. You will love this. This is so much fun to stitch on, and this is solid stitching. If you take from here down, this is solid stitching. So I did this with the needlepoint inks. This took a long time. It was so deceiving. I kept saying, oh, I'm almost done. Well, this bottom part seemed to go on forever. Although I loved it, it's a lot of stitching. But it's not very big. I think this frame is maybe 11 by 8 or so. It's not very big, but I love her. So you've seen her finished, but you have not seen her framed, and this frame is so perfect for her. But so I did research on this old motif, and I believe it's called the fishing lady, and I think there was, if I'm right, I think there were 7 in existence, and they were all found in in museums. Now, Kathy Barrick actually designed this pattern a long time before this pattern was designed. So I would love to chat with Kathy Barrick and ask her, where did she see, or was this, did she see this and do her own version of it? This is probably one of my top favorite patterns. I absolutely love this one. But I would love to, see if it was based on the fisherman pictures, because it's so close. But yeah, if you're not stitching this one, you should order this right away and stitch this. Great pattern. And this one also. So I'm looking forward to getting started on this one. The reason I decided not to do it was because after seeing what won the South Dakota State Fair this year, I wasn't sure that whoever's judging, I don't know who judges it, I wasn't sure that people would appreciate the beauty of this. And that Mirabilia, the bling probably was more of a wow factor. And hopefully I'm not selling my judges short, but so I made the ultimate decision to go with something that had beads and Krynic, and it's got whisper thread on it. So something that's got a lot of different texture to it, I guess. But probably 2024, I'm probably going to do this one and enter this one because it's a great pattern. Hannah Carter, the Scarlet Letter. She's an amazing designer, the Scarlet Letter. She's got so many great patterns. And as soon as I start filming, I forget the one that Carol Saltbox Stitcher is working on. I'll put the name across the bottom. That's one of the next ones that I do want to get because I really like that pattern a lot. So what have I been working on? You've seen almost everything I've been working on. It's been I haven't got to stitch as much as I wanted to. This year it's just been really busy. So I'm just going to show you a couple things that kind of are in my stash that I want to work on and that I've kind of put as a priority. You know what? Before I do that, let me show you what I'm going to use, enter into the South Dakota State Fair. It's obviously it's a Mirabilia. So I got 4 Mira projects, and I had my sister and one of her friends kind of choose which one they thought would be the best. So I said, look at these, and then I want you to rate them, rank them of how you would, which one you like the best and which one you think I should enter into the fair. So the 4 that were in contention, I'll just go backwards of which one was in 4th place and then all the way to the front. So this first one is my old-fashioned project bag. My first one that I had entered in was Persephone. I am, regardless, am going to start her. I love her. I've had her for a while. I have her kitted up. I need to get some different material. I chose a fabric that it's a kind of a purple. Do I have it with me? Here's her kitted up. So here's the, I don't have things on. So there's the colors, and here is the fabric that I chose. This is called Lilac by Weeks Dye Works. I'm doing a horrible job at holding this. So her colors are very vibrant. So again, this is Persephone. And I don't know if that lilac will work or not. It's called for pink sand linen. So I don't know yet. I'm going to start her this year, but I don't know if it'll be on that lilac. I'll probably have to do some linen shopping when I'm in the Amana colonies. So that is Persephone. Coming in third place, again my lovely old-fashioned project bags, is Moonflowers. I really like her too. I've had her for a really long time. I had her before I discovered Flosstube, which means I have the actual called for linen. So this is milk chocolate linen. It's a Witchell Imports. And she is really pretty. Again, she's got a great palette of colors. She's really colorful. I know a lot of people have done her. She's got quite a bit of bling on her. She's got the Whisper. I don't know if you guys have ever worked with Whisper. I am not fond of it. It's kind of difficult to thread it through. I use long lengths, I'll show you in a minute, of floss. I'm not the 12-inch person. I take 36 inches. And I like to work with a really long piece of floss. But this stuff you really can't because it tears so easy. And as you pull the thread through, the fuzz comes off of it, and then you have kind of a bare thread, and then you've got a big spot of fuzz. So this is, I'm not that keen on it, but the rest of it's really pretty. I love that she picks some type of water lilies. This is the one that goes with it. Isn't that pretty? This is called Lemon and Lime. Beautiful. That's one thing I do miss working on my mirrors, and I like that little bit of silk that goes in there. So that came in third, and that was Moonflowers. Coming in second place, and this was difficult for me to not say I'm going with my own thing. It was difficult to take other people's advice when you kind of have a preconceived notion of what you want to do. Because I've been eyeballing this for a really long time, and I don't know why I haven't started it, but it is Gypsy Queen. She is so stunning. Again, I picked linen for her. For some reason, I felt like I had to go with an orange. You know how you pick a linen and then the project sits around for a while and you don't get back to it for, well, this has been close to 10 years. And then you think, wow, that is a horrible choice. So I guess I originally bought a piece about 10 years ago, and then probably 6 years ago, I bought another piece. And I no longer think that I'm going to use it. I'm going to show it to you, but this shows you how people's taste changes. But this is Gypsy Queen, Mirabilia. I really like her a lot. This is the color I chose. It is called Eek, I believe. Yes, it's called Eek, and it's Picture This Plus. And I think why I was so drawn to it is because of the blue that's here, because the colors in her it's quite stunning. They're really pretty, and I thought these turquoisey colors and the turquoise spots, there's a better shot right there, turquoise spots on the material, the fabric would go together. That's probably a good shot. But I don't think that I want to do it anymore. I think the piece of linen is too busy. I think it would detract from her, even though, let me pull these off. I mean, it's got a lot of splotches on it. You know, you'd have to use the whole piece. And I could probably do placement on there. but I don't think I like it anymore. I think it would distract a lot from, there's just so much going on in this pattern. There's so many details. So I'm going to also linen shop for this one. That kind of played into my decision to go with the piece that the other two, I'll call them judges, chose. So I don't know if any of you Mira fans out there have guessed what it is already, but it actually is a really good choice. Get this out of the way, because it has something relevant, I guess, with our state. So this is housed in a project bag that my sister and I made. So we do make, if you're new to my channel, we do have a Etsy shop called the SheShackStore, and we do make project bags. They're different than everybody else's. And what we actually do is we put the material on Vicky's Gamma long arm quilting machine, so we actually quilt it. This is one of my favorites. I love this blue. So we just make an arbitrary pattern, and this is something that Vicky made up for me at my request. I like to be able to see through here to see what the pattern is, but then I kind of like to hide everything else. So this is what we just call a vinyl project bag. Now I did have another request from her, and that was, I want something to store my threads in or other miscellaneous stuff. So she made all kinds of what we call DAP kits, or Donna's accessory pouch. This one is one of her what we call a boxy bag, a small boxy bag. So you can see it's kind of boxed, and then you just unzip it like this in the middle, and then all your goodies are inside there. This does not actually have the threads in it, but it's got other things in it. And since, so in my DAP kits, I like to keep a DAP kit in almost all of my projects because I never want to run out of things. So I would have a scissors in each of my DAP kits. This is not a good example either. I have a waxer. I do use waxers on my thread. I would have, this is actually nothing. That's my it's my pencil. I do keep a pencil, and I do use a mechanical pencil and sorry, I'm really rusty at this, and lead, and then I have an extra eraser too in case I need to write notes or jot something out. So I put those in here. I usually have a pack of needles in here also, and sometimes I have hand lotion in there, and I use Burt's Beeswax a lot, so I'll put that in there too. And then I can also put my threads in there. So we sell these in all different kinds. I have a couple others I'll show you, but this is what is called our DAP kit, and we make them to coordinate. So the winner was the Snow Queen. Now, why is that appropriate for South Dakota? Because in South Dakota we have a contest for seniors in high school to be the South Dakota Snow Queen, and there's also a South Dakota Junior Snow Queen when you are a freshman in high school, and it's based on scholastic and poise and interview. There's no talent required, but the Snow Queen obviously has her crown, but then she's got kind of like a fur stole, and her cape is white with fur. And the other really cool thing is that our Snow Queen goes every year to the St. Paul, I think it's called the Snow Festival. Shannon's probably screaming it. They have an ice sculpting festival in St. Paul, Minnesota, and our Snow Queen always is in that parade. So this is Snow Queen, or the Snow Queen, by Mirabilia, and this is going to be my State Fair 2023 large entry. When I first looked at her, I thought, well, she's really kind of dull, even though I'd seen her done. But then I went and bought all the threads and changed my mind completely. I was really surprised. You know how we always say you really can't tell by the picture? I look at her, I see a lot of gray. Obviously the background is gray. I see a lot of muted blues. But when you look at the palette, this is what you see. All these beautiful colors. So again, I like to have long threads when I stitch. These are measured out to about 36 inches. But aren't these colors gorgeous? I guess I looked at that picture and I just really couldn't see all these beautiful colors. But there's all these beautiful, and then there's these yellows and these teals with the beautiful purples. And then the satins that go with this are two really pretty watercolors. This is Monsoon and Porcelain Blue. So those are really pretty. That'll be really nice in there. Show them separate. That's really pretty. That'll be beautiful. I think there's quite a bit, and then that will be the other one. So those are really pretty. So I'm excited to start this one. So again, I did not have linen for this one. I didn't know what to do. My sister said, "Can't you wait?" And I said, "No, I don't really want to wait. I want to start it right now." Again, this is a really pretty palette. So I did what any reasonable stitcher would do, is I went into my linen stash. I looked through everything I had. I don't really have any 32 count anymore because I started stitching with 36 and 40. And so I have a very limited selection. So I did have a full yard of 32 count linen. So I went on to a conversion chart and found out what the closest color they called for linen for this pattern, which is Twilight Blue Linen by Witchell Imports. And I went to my Rit Dye page and it said it was close to DMC 319, so I took a piece of 319 and I took my iPad and I held the thread up to it across the colors, and I came across one, and now I can't say what it's called, and I mixed it up and I dyed it, and I think I did pretty darn good. I know the picture can be deceiving, but as far as getting close to the linen color, I think I did okay. So it is just a little bit variegated. I don't have anything to hold up behind it. Let's try this. Let's try another piece of linen and see if it works. There we go, new technique. A little bit better. So you can see a slight variation in it. It's going to take that whole piece. It's actually going to go like this. It's going to be the long way like this. So I'm going to be starting that as on our trip this weekend as we head out to the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm going to be taking this with me, and I'm going to start this project, and then I'll share the progress with you. I figured if I'm going to do the entry, I don't want to, this year I kind of waited to the last minute, especially with the Christmas ornaments, and there was a lot of pressure on myself, so I thought I'm going to start right away. You can start, projects for the fair have to be started after September 15th, and they have to be finished by like July 31st for entry. So that's going to be my large project for the South Dakota State Fair. Although I say that, and then there's one other project that I started a really long time ago. I mean, as in 20, this is probably 20 years old. I hope everybody else has got some whips that old. I actually have a whip from 1997. That's kind of dating myself, but that's a long period of time. So this is something that I started. So I am a former high school wrestling cheerleader, and I really like wrestling. My brother was a wrestler, and I'm a huge fan of wrestling. And here in Pierre, some of my best friends, 3 sons all wrestled. So we spent a lot of time at wrestling tournaments in the late 90s and early 2000s. And so my friend, whose kids we were watching wrestle, had me teach her how to cross stitch. And then she decided that we were going to do it during wrestling. So this was worked on, I'm going to say, in probably 1999 or 2000 at wrestling tournaments as we sat and watched. And I've come a long ways, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to use this frame. And this would be the only other one I would consider entering in the fair. And I've got a good chunk of him done. This is Santa's Magic by Mirabilia. I'm not doing a very good job of holding it up. He's got a wrinkle in him. So you can see I've got quite a bit of him done, but it's a heavy Krynic. Like that entire blue line is Krynic. Over here on the moon, And then all the white on his cuffs and his beard are the Whisper. He is amazing. So you're probably saying, how did you get that far and put him down? Well, I made a mistake on that metallic thread. And the thought of ripping out the metallic thread was enough to have me put that thing down for close to 20 years. I have actually so when I stitch, I highlight what I've done, and thank heavens I did that, because when you come back to a pattern that you haven't worked on in that long, you have no idea where you're at. You have no idea what you did. But so I made a mistake, and nobody can tell, but I don't think it's about, I usually don't care. I usually don't rip things out, but trying to make the lines come together correctly is the part that's frustrating me. So I made the mistake in this line right here, all of that blue. And then these guys have to come up and everybody has to meet. So I'm fudging it. I mean, he is beautiful. I mean, he's got a great face. Let's see if I can get a close up of his face. Not quite done yet. And there's a ton of beads, which I can't wait to bead. I really like to bead. I think these are really pretty too. Look at that moon. So obviously where all the white marks are, those are all beads. So if I just got to work on his face a little bit and then get his sleeve back here, get this guy taken care of, I think I can make it come together. And then these leaves up here also, they all have to kind of match up. So I'm really thinking that sometime when I go away for a week or weekend or a retreat, I just have to take this as my only piece and then just force myself to work on it. I don't think it would really take that long to finish. I think if I got after it now, I honestly could have it done by this Christmas, probably pretty easily. If I put my mind to it, I can stitch something fairly quickly. So that is the only other mirror that I'm kind of thinking about. This is a whip that I'm working on, and you've seen this, and I haven't made any progress on it. Leeds House Sampler, and this is the one I've been doing with the sulky thread. So just to kind of refresh your memory, and I'm really close on this one. Once I started working on my state fair projects, and then I knew that I wanted to do the other two Teresa Kogut Santa Clauses, I literally became a monogamous stitcher. I did not allow myself to start anything new, and trust me, I wanted to start several projects. But I didn't allow myself to start anything new until I finished that. And it felt really good to get them finished and framed, and I have been admiring them. I live in a really small house. My house is 852 square feet, and I do have a basement, and it's a livable basement. But my main floor is small, and so there's no seasonality to my cross stitch. I keep up Christmas all year round. I have fall up all year round. I have all my Mirabilia fairies up, all my Nora Corbetts, all my Kathy Barracks, my Teresa Koguts. Everything is up year round. I figure these are my art pieces, and I'm going to display them for myself, basically, and look at them and enjoy them. And your stitching brings you back to when you stitch that piece. There's always a special memory attached that I can look at certain pieces, and I can tell you exactly what I was doing or where I was at when I was stitching that, and that invokes good memories. So I keep everything up year round. So this is Leeds House Sampler. Again, I'm so close. I really have just a lot of work in that middle medallion to do, and this is on 32 count Ancient by Picture This Plus, and this is sulky threads. And this thread pack was available for you to buy when you bought this pattern. And it's not hard, it's just repetitive. So once I have some of this corner done down here, you see that? Once you have that corner done, you just repeat it in each corner. Same with these really cool motifs. Once you got one done, you just had to look at it, it's just reversed. So I just have to really finish that out. So This is another piece that I need to just make myself work on this only and get this one done and get it framed and get that up on my wall. So that is with sulky threads. I would encourage everybody who stitches to not only try sulky threads, but if you've never tried silk thread, treat yourself. It's like knife through soft butter. It is so nice when you stitch. It doesn't hardly knot. It just goes through the linen really nice, and it's just a nice treat. The other thing about silk is, like Kathy Barrick uses needlepoint silks, MPIs, a lot of them. You can use a lot of them over and over again. It's very rare to use an entire skein of silks. So I'm going to come back to this one. So I did actually use an entire skein of red, the MPI red on this. So that's what one MPI skein, and there's 8 strands, looks like. But that's really the only one that I think I've used that much thread on. So treat yourself. This is my hobby. This is how I treat myself, and I never feel guilty about buying something. Do I have enough patterns for the rest of my life and 2 more? Oh, absolutely. But part of it is the joy of just looking at the patterns. I don't know if, I'm sure there are other people that do this, but sometimes I'll just grab a designer and I'll just go through all those patterns. So when I was making the ornaments for the state fair, these are some of the other Plum Street designs that I pulled out, and I used some elements from all these. Originally I was going to do 6, but I ran out of time, so I did 4. But this is 1,000 Hills. This is where the sheep came from. This is a great pattern. I really like the colors in this pattern. Also, I really like the blue color. I like that aqua-y blue. But I really do want to stitch this also. Great pattern. Rack Stack. This pattern I bought in Osage, Iowa at the Stitchery Nook. Jean and I were in Rochester. She was taking radiation, and we made a day trip, and we went over and got it, and the owner had dyed this fabric, and it was perfect. So I picked that up, and this is where one of the deer came from for one of the ornaments. This is another great one, A Shepherd's Song. And I'm mistaken, the sheep came from this, not from 1,000 Hills. This is where the sheep came from, A Shepherd's Song. Another great one. There are so many, we're so lucky as stitchers to have so many talented designers out there. It's amazing. When I first started stitching, there was pretty much Pat and Gloria Present, and I did all Creative Moments things. So again, this is 1,000 Hills, and why I confused myself is I actually was going to put the cattle, and I was going to do Silent Night, as in the cattle are lowing in the song, but he was a little bit too small, and so he was going to be number 5, and so I kind of abandoned him. So that was that one. This is another great one, My Early Days. Look how beautiful that is. I love the deer. I was going to use, and I'll probably make an ornament. I'm going to use this deer right here. Very cool. So this one is called My Early Days. All of these I'm going to stitch in full. This is one I just like because one of my favorite colors is pink. And this is just called the Pink House Sampler. Another good design. This was, and this one I was going to use this is called This Joyous Season, and I was going to use this little sled down here. And again, I probably still will. I have all the threads pulled for all these, but I thought that'd be a great, and then I thought Jingle Bells would be a good one on that one. Look at that house, so isn't that cool? Love it. And look at this tall tree right here. That's part of the fun of looking through patterns, is just finding all those little elements. And you know, before I was introduced to Flosstube and I met a lot of stitchers out there, I would have probably never thought to take just a motif off a sampler and make it its own individual strawberry. But it's been very empowering for me. It's really made me grow as a stitcher. and is a finisher. And so I appreciate everybody that takes time to make a Flosstube video out there. It's still hard for me. This is number 8, I think, but it's still hard for me to do it. But if I can share one small tidbit that could help somebody with their stitching, I figure it's worth it. So this one is, so I did use a Santa from this one, and this is Mary 1. I'm going to probably have to do the whole design because it is just cute. Mary 1. And then this one is called Kringle and Woodward, and I was going to use the sheep on this one. Again, I had to kind of make a decision. I didn't want to do 2 sheep. I wanted to try to, do a variety of animals on there, but I'll probably stitch this one too. I mean, isn't that Santa awesome? That's a great one. Kringle and Woodward. And then this one is called Mary 2, and this one I know I was going to use this sleigh. Again, look at the little Santa and the sleigh and the reindeer, the bouquet of flowers. It's really pretty. Really like it. So that's Plum Street. That's kind of a look at what I've been doing with Plum Street. And I'm going to end my Plum Street section with, I guess, a kind of something sentimental. So Jean was stitching on this Plum Street when she passed away. And it's something that I've always really liked, this design. So this is Jean's stitching bag. Everything is in here. So on one of our trips to Valhalla, my sister and I made a little needle book for everybody. I did the little embroidery, and then Vicky my sister did a decorative stitch, and then we just finished it with a piece of felt in there. So we also, on our girls trip one year, my sister made all of us a quilt. And when my sister quilts, she uses minky on the other side. So every one of us has a different color of minky. So it's this line of fabric, and I can't tell you what this is, but there's ours have cats on them. There's dogs. There's horses. This is just one of the accompanying fabrics that goes with it. There's all kinds of things on them. So we each had our own color. Jean's was purple. Mine is kind of a chartreuse pink. And so that was one of the things that we made for her. So it was in her bag. So she was working on In Friendship. And I had just always admired this pattern. And she was so close. And I remember talking about it so many times, and her talking about being at Mayo and trying to get all this black in here stitched and how long it was taking her to stitch this. And so this is an example of Jean's beautiful work. She was an amazing stitcher. She was a really super fast stitcher, but an amazing stitcher. She would stitch so many things. I mean, she probably outstitched me 2 to 1. Now, she's one of the ones that encouraged me to start the sewing method. And so I was a stabber. I used a Q-snap. I needed to have my fabric very, very tight. And it just seemed like we actually timed each other one time. How long does it take? How many stitches can you do in 30 seconds? And Jean's was like double mine. And so she said, you should try to sew. Well, I was really intimidated by it, but you're really only making an up-down stitch, up-down stitch. Whether you're going at an angle this way or this way, you're really just sewing like this, like you're sewing the hem of a pair of pants. And once I discovered that, it got a lot easier. The other trick, and I heard somebody mention this the other day too, was I upside down stitch. I discovered that about 3 years ago. Was stitching once, needed to go the other direction. Thought, well, let me just see if I can flip it. Flipped it. I do it all the time now. I stitch back and forth. I'm start in the left-hand corner and go to the right. But when I want to make a full cross on the back side, I go right to left. And if I do that, I just switch back and forth. I just turn it upside down. You just have to remember to do the full switch, not just a quarter of the turn. And then you can just continue sewing, and it goes really, really fast. So this literally is exactly where Jean left it. There's a piece of thread on here. Her needle's probably somewhere here, but this is In Friendship. This is how far she got. I think we discussed that she had to fill in. I mean, you can see this house down here, if I can get to it. You can see where she filled in and where she had to continue. I think that Ironically, the ornament that I made for Christmas, and I didn't realize it till after the fact, is this swan right here. So this goes right in there. That swan goes right in there. And I did not know that was the only thing that she had to stitch. So I'm looking forward to doing that, to stitching that for her. And then she says to like fill in the strawberries. There's a couple more flowers she has to do, but she was really close. So I want to finish this and ask her family if it would be okay for me to have this and frame this and put it in my house. So that is in friendship. So that's kind of a priority too. I would like to get that done before the end of the year just because I want to try to finish some of her projects. Jean had a lot of whips. I think I've said it before, but I'm going to give myself 5 years to try to finish up as much stuff as I can. Her daughter's interested in stitching and one of her grandsons, ironically. So I would love to reacquaint her daughter with stitching and teach her grandson to stitch and to have them help finish up some of these projects. So it's really kind of cool because one of her other daughter-in-laws is interested in quilting. So she had 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. And so her daughter's interested in stitching. One daughter-in-law is interested in quilting and one's in crocheting. And those were the 3 things that she did. So I thought that was pretty cool. So everybody's going to get to do a little crafting with Jean, as we call it. So another thing that I was working on, that so I think I mentioned also before that Jean and I would pick a pattern, and it would either be our chemo or radiation stitch. That picture right up here, you're looking way in the back there, that's your Grand Old Flag by Samplers Not Forgotten. That way, that way, that one right there. You can see Jean and I holding those up. That was our first chemo stitch. And then we did a small radiation stitch. It was a Brenda Gervais. And then when we did chemo again, we started on the Equality Sampler. And I will try to pull those out next time. I'm just stopping where I was at and where Jean was at. So I'm going to frame those side by side. Neither of us were done, but I want to mark the moment that there wasn't going to be more stitching on those two. So that will be a good memory for me. I know 2 of her needles are in that one. I look at that almost every day and think of that. But we also tried to pick small doable patterns. Now we did the Nightshade Bird by Plum Street. I think I showed that. That's inside. I've got it sewn together, but I need to put the top and the bottom on the drum, and then I'll show you that. And then I'll finish Jean's also and give that to her daughter. They still decorate the house with all of her cross stitch, so it's really cool to go over there and see everything, especially at Christmas. It's amazing. She did some amazing pieces. But this was a little, probably like everybody, we were really into strawberries, as you can see, my strawberries. But we picked up this one on our way. Actually, it'll be 2 years ago in November when we were headed to then it was called the Midwest Stitching Retreat, or the Farm Go Retreat. We stopped at Shanty Stitchers in Beersford, South Dakota. Great shop. It doesn't just have cross stitch, but she's got beautiful quilting fabrics also. And she's got some amazing older patterns that are kind of hard to find. And she is super nice, super helpful, great store. So that's called the Shanty Stitchers in Beersford, South Dakota, which is very close to the South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska line. So if you're in that area, give them a call, stop in. Great place. So Jean finished hers. I did not finish mine. So that's how far I am on him. It shouldn't really be that difficult to finish him. I'm not that far from completion. But this is one I'm also going to take this weekend. I think that in a couple hours I could have him done, and then I will turn him into a strawberry. So let me switch gears again and talk about the strawberries for a second. So when I make my strawberries, I'm just going to hold one of them up here. I actually fill mine with rice. I know a lot of people use wood chips or lizard litter, which is crushed walnut shells, and then batting, but I use rice. And because it's a grain, I get a ginormous bag and then I put it in my freezer, because sometimes in like flour and stuff, after a while there might get bugs in it. So I freeze my rice prior to using the rice, and then I just have a ginormous bowl, and I just put the tip of the strawberry into the rice, and then I just fill it till it gets nice and full, and I just keep working my hand, and I have a chopstick that I shove down and to get that tip, the rice down in there, and I just start that too with just a couple. And then in the top I do put a little bit of fiberfill before I sew the top on that, so that it stays nice and full and tight. So these guys they're a little bit heavy, but they don't lose their shape, and if they do, you can simply, just reshape that as you go. So that's how I make my strawberries. I make them with rice, so if you have not tried it before, maybe something fun to try. I've never had a problem with it. I've even made the big blackbird strawberry that's got the blackbird on it. That is a great one. It was one of Gina and I's radiation stitches also, and I love that, and that's all stuffed with rice, so that's pretty heavy duty. So I right now can't show you anything what I would call a whip that I've actively worked on without everything that I've already finished. So again, I made myself be a monogamous stitcher so I could get the last Santa done, the Teresa Kogut. But October 1st was on Sunday, and on October 1st is when she releases her new Patreon patterns for the month of October. And you've probably seen these on other people's channel, but when I saw this, I knew that I had to start it immediately. It is called Folksy Thomas. Isn't he adorable? She is so talented. Oh, she is so talented. If you have not picked up a Teresa Kogut pattern, you need to. Isn't he handsome? I just love him. I love everything about this pattern. So I couldn't wait. So I started him, and he is being done on 40 count Alien from the Moon. This is my last little bit. I had bought a half a yard of this from Teresa Vinette, and this is the last piece I have left, so it doesn't have a lot of modeling on it, but like I said, my other one is coming through. It was in customs today, so I should be getting it soon, but it was perfect for this pattern. So this is perfect size, and here are the colors. I believe I'm probably missing a few. So there's the colors. Right up here, this is Sweet Pea. I am missing a couple of the hand dyes. I think I'm missing, I don't think there's much to them. I'm missing Carrot, I know that, so the bright orange I'm missing. 922 I'm missing. So anyway, those are the colors, and this is my active whip at the moment. And since I just started it today, I guess you still can call it a whip, right? So I just got the corner done. So again, I took a piece of paper, I positioned it on there. I don't have it with me. I literally fold a piece of paper to whatever size it is, like this. I take the fabric and I put it exactly where I want it. So I knew that I wanted to start right in this corner. I looked at the modeling on it. I have a inch or 2 inches on each side, perfect. So this is a perfect piece for this, and I'll show progress on that next time also, because it's just really fun to stitch. Yeah, good pattern. So, and the other two for this month were also amazing, but this one was just calling my name. That turkey is just, he's phenomenal. So my sister makes different kind of bags too. Like I said, I've got the little DAP kit. This is one that she made as a prototype. We haven't made another one yet, but for all those Doctor Who fans out there, those are the Daleks. And this is actually a 2-pocket pouch. So I got scissors in there, I've got needles in there, I've got my highlighter in there and my pencil in there. And then on this side over here, I've got all of my threads. So this is nice and handy, and then she just had a snap closure on it for it like this. This obviously is not quilted, but this is just one of her other little designs. So that goes with that. I think that's all I have to show you today. So for this episode's botanical moment, I would like to spotlight orchids. Orchids are a passion of mine. I have about 21, I think, and most of them are the common Follyopsis, which you can buy at a greenhouse or a big box store. These are the kind that a lot of people have in their homes, and they come in a lot of different varieties, and the flowers are a lot of different patterns, and they're really beautiful. A lot of them are white. A lot of mine are white and pinks in kind of a burgundy color. I have just a lot of different kinds. But orchids also come in different sizes. I guess these are probably the young ones that are heading to maturity, but there's thousands and thousands of different orchids. And even within the Follyopsis, these orchids bloom and the flowers are different shapes. So I'm going to just show you 3 different sizes of orchids that I have, and if I find pictures, I'll insert a picture of the blooms as I go. So the first is this cute little guy right here. He's only this big. So he again is just a Follyopsis. You can see that he's actually sprouting a new leaf right there. You can see how shiny he is. So Follyopsis put out shoots, or I guess you call them runners, and they also have roots to them. So every, I believe it's 2 leaves, they could potentially produce a shoot. So the shoot, which produces a flower, comes out between the leaves. So this guy does not have a shoot on him, but that's where he should come out. If an orchid starts to produce too many leaves, when they're producing a leaf, they're not going to produce a shoot. So you have to be patient with orchids. You might think that they're dead, but they're not. How do I tell if this orchid is dead or not? And how do I tell if it needs water, if it's got too much water? I think it's probably the most common problem that people have when they take an orchid home. I've given people orchids before and they said, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? And I said, well, when it flowers, just, cut it back and just continue to water it and let it grow. Well, how do I know if it needs water? Because one of the most common problems that people have with an orchid is they overwater it. All orchids come in a pot. There's 2 different pots I'm going to show you. This is one kind of a pot that it would come in, and they all have a hole in the bottom. And why do they do that? Because orchids like to be drained. This also has got a different kind of orchid composite to the other ones we're going to see. So this is kind of just like a mossy kind of compound. Just kind of a filler that puts it in there, and then the roots are within there. And you can see on this guy right here that his roots are really nice and green. Now you need to make sure that they're just green, and here at the top you can see some of these roots growing right here, and they're really nice and green. This guy looks really healthy. I'm really pleased with the way he looks right now. That's what you're going for. You're going for a nice green leaf like that. That's the smallest one. Hey Katie, you gonna come and see us? You gonna come and see us? Do you want to come up here and see us? Hold on a second. Let's see. Katie wants to talk to us for a minute. What's up? What's going on? You want to come and see everybody and tell them hi? Want to look at the flowers with us? So again, Katie's had her little foot episode here. She's feeling really pretty good though. She's just back to as sassy as she can. Just a few minutes ago there was a bunny outside, but she just does not chase bunny rabbits. Good thing for the bunny rabbit. So that was our smallest orchid. So this is our next size orchid right here. We'll see if I can hold Katie and do this. And you can see that this is just a little bit bigger. You okay, big girl? And you can also see, I'm going to have to put her down. Tell everybody goodbye for a minute. You can tell everybody goodbye for a minute? She's such a good girl. All right, there you go. You sit right there on the chair. So this is the next size orchid. And you can tell this was a small guy. This is how much bigger he is in the circumference. You can see how much bigger he is. He's also just produced a new leaf right here, and all the new leaves are nice and shiny. This is, hopefully you can see this. You can see this little stub right here that looks kind of like a dried piece of wood. That is what the shoot was. So he was down 2 leaves and he produced a shoot coming right out of here. This guy had actually 2 of them. If you can see over here between these leaves, there's just that little piece right here that's sticking out. That was another shoot. So when you see the double sticks right here, this is to support the shoot when it comes out. Otherwise it will bend over. And I'll show you one that's actually flowering here in a second. So this is kind of the middle size orchid. This is, just a minute Katie. This is a full, come on Katie. She wants to go outside. Hold on. You want to go outside? You want to go outside? Okay. Come on. She's a typical cat. She gets her way when she wants it. No waiting. So this is what I would call the most common or a full size orchid that you would buy at like Walmart or a florist. Again, it's called a Follyopsis. So this guy is in a different kind of medium. So everybody just got transplanted out here. So he got transplanted, and I'm gonna very carefully, I'm not gonna pull his pot out of here, I will. Very carefully remove his pot. So sometimes when orchids get older, they have a lot of roots on them. So these guys here are all roots. This is a different kind of a compound for the orchids. This is an actual orchid mix I got at an orchid store in Broomfield, Colorado. So it's got these different wood chips. I think this is vermiculite, I believe it is. Anyway, orchids are kind of an air plant. They don't like to have their feet wet. They don't like to have their roots wet. Again, you can kind of see in here, I mixed some other compound here and put that on the top, but you can see his root right here, he's green. Now, he looks dry up here on the top. Sometimes I just mist him with water, but this guy is, you know, he's getting older. His leaf might be a little bit floppy. Some people get all worried about that. I think it's just the life cycle of them, just like anything else. Now this guy he is way down in there. This is brand new. I can do this without tipping him over. Way down there, you can see right down there, he's putting out a new leaf. So he's sprouting a new little leaf. But more important, again, I count down 1, 2 leaves, and here's the shoot. This dark green right here is the shoot. So that is what they should put out. These are just for support. So if you go all the way up the shoot, you're gonna see little leaves on the side here. There's one right here behind this stick. There's one at the top. That's what's eventually gonna produce this top shoot right here. Now this guy is still intact. The other ones that you've seen, I've had to clip this off, but this guy is still intact. So there's a very good chance, in fact I'm positive, when I look at these and I look how green these are right here, I can tell that he's gonna produce a shoot out of there. So a shoot should come out of here, here, and here, and maybe even up at the top. Too close. Here, here, and here, and even up the top. So that's what an adult non-blooming Follyopsis looks like. Again, he had 2 spikes coming out of him, or shoots, so 2 supports. Don't worry if their roots look like this, if they're sticking out of the top. Again, this is really an air plant. He doesn't like to have his feet wet. How you can tell that they're not getting enough water is they start to get kind of this whitish colored. I'll probably spray him on the top, but down in his compost down here, his roots are nice and green. I can tell that he's nice and green down in here. If the roots start to turn black, you're overwatering them, and that's probably the most common thing that happens with people growing orchids at home. Now on the bottom of this, again, an orchid pot, you can see it's got watering holes in the bottom of it. All orchid pots have some type of a drainage system built in so that they don't get overwatered, especially in transport. So here's another adult Follyopsis. This guy is blooming, and because I have so many different ones, I never know what color it's going to be. Oh my gosh. And this has been in bloom since mid-August. So as you can see, this is the main stalk right here, the main shoot. This guy coming up here, the main shoot. He branched off and put out this shoot. This guy over here, again, the main shoot shot up. There was the old shoot, shot up a new one. Now you can see here that this, if I can get the right direction, this orchid, this little shoot right here, he could actually produce a flower. And then you can see right in here, right there behind my fingers, right here, that could probably be another flower also. So that's kind of what this shoot looks like. But I'm going to try to get up close because orchids are so amazing to me. They are so beautiful. Let me see if I can move this guy out of here so we can get a close up. Every orchid that I have is different. Let's see if I can get that. Shaky the orchid. There he goes. Anyway, they look so delicate, but they're really, really quite hardy. Just an amazing plant. Here, if you can get like a little side view of them. They've got the neatest, like little, looks like he's got a little jaw there. that sticks out. But this guy, like I said, has been in bloom since mid-August, and I don't expect him, the way his, you get used to the way the flowers look, and this flower, I would say, will probably continue to be in bloom for at least another month, maybe another 6 weeks. I would not be surprised if he's still blooming at Christmas. Now the smaller orchids, this is the next smallest down, and then the tiniest one. When this guy was blooming, he bloomed for almost 9 months continually. His flowers are about the size of my thumb, so they were very small, but he just bloomed continuously. That's one of the things I like about him. So if you ever go or you ever get a orchid, this variety again is called Follyopsis, that's widely available. If you ever get this for a gift, once the flowers die back, and even if this spike or shoot dies back and you have to cut it off, don't consider that dead. There's really no rhyme nor reason. It's like they just decide one day they're going to bloom. I try to check my orchids every couple days to see if they need to be watered, and I literally put them in the sink, run the faucet over them, or I have orchid food that I feed through into another dish until they get nice and saturated, and then I just let them sit. They are very versatile, and they're very beautiful, as you can tell, and they bring a smile to your face almost every day. So thank you everybody for sticking with me, especially through the botanical moment. I appreciate if you've come back to see me again. I'm hoping not to make it so long between my next video. I'm headed to a retreat in about 3 weeks in the Mana colonies, and I'm really excited to see old friends and just to get together and stitch. And then of course this weekend we're headed to a Valhalla trip with the local Girls Are Stitching Bitch group, which is always fun too. So I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody is finding happiness in their stitching, and if you see a stranger today, say hello. It's free, and it can make a difference in someone's life and make someone's day. Till next time, my friends, have a great evening.